those headphones? The B, whatever those things are.
Beats by Dre. Yeah. Those are the worst headphones, by the way. They're just
yeah. I've been reading that sound quality-wise, there's a lot better ones. They're not that good for the money.
Yeah, they're pretty bad.
I have a ton to add to this list, by the way, today. Oh.
Yeah. What?
11:59. Oh,
yeah.
hi. We're on.
We're pretty much on. I just realized I don't know why my Oh, there it is. I'm back. My like lower third thing didn't work.
Oh, it's there.
Yeah, it's there now.
So hi.
Hey, Patty, how are you?
Fantastic.
All right. I'm gonna get rid of that. No.
Oh, do we have the chat up? The Q&A, I mean? There we go.
Yep, hold on. I'll do this in just 1 second. I know this is annoying. If you're watching this now, sorry. I just really like having my little lower third thing up here. Oh,
it's all right, Dan.
Did you hear it?
I hear it. That's all right, Dan. You take your time. We have nothing else to do today.
Right? There's fire trucks outside. Yay! Someone probably died, though, so maybe it's
Oh, stop that. That's not cool.
I mean... So I don't know why my lower third's all screwed up. Oh, there it is.
We know who you are. It's cool.
Do you? Do you really know who I am? All right.
I feel like I do.
Oh, man. Why don't you start it? I'm just going to mute my audio. This is awful. You do it.
Oh, you want me to kick it off? Okay. Welcome to SEO and IPA, your weekly fun hangout for entrepreneurs. Wait, what is it? Business owners and marketers of all kinds and SEOs, and I am Patty D'Alessio of Reinvent Interactive, and I am here with my my super smart friend Dan Barrett. Hi, Dan. How you doing? I can't hear you. I can't hear you. All right, now I think you're screwing with me. You are kidding me. I got nothing. What did you do? I don't hear a thing. What'd you do? All right, I'm gonna taste my beer while you figure out whatever nonsense you've got going on. I assume you can hear me. Okay, I am gonna do a shout out. I had a great meeting this week with a local beer company who I actually really love. These guys are called Prism Brewing. And I don't know if Dan, are we going to quit the call and start over completely? No, okay, I'm going to keep going and then you're going to join me. Okay, called Prism Brewing, and this is what the bottle looks like. This is their Felony IPA. It's about a 10% beer, so it's pretty high. But anyway, I met my friend Jack. Jack was in the local Wegmans. And anyway, met him over the weekend. He's totally great. I might post a picture or share a photo of him later because he was just very sweet. Anyway, and here it is. So it is basically, I would call this a double IPA. Yeah, with an alcohol content of 10%, I'd call it a double IPA. But anyway, I gave them a shout out today on Twitter. Hopefully they'll see that. But anyway, love local. Love being able to tap into local breweries, support the local brewers, especially ones that bottle, beyond just the restaurants and stuff. But anyway, this is fantastic. Look at the color. It's got a lot going on. And it's good. It's actually, I forget what they brew with this. They have another IPA with honey. Oh, hi, Dan's back.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I couldn't, it kept saying that I wasn't muted.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't let me do anything. So sorry about that.
That's all right. That's all right. Anyway, I was about to taste. So this is Prism Brewing. They're local to me here. They're just a few towns over. Our mutual friend Francine is a big fan of these guys. They're really cool. There's a big tasting room. When I met Jack from Prism, he actually gave me this card that gets me kind of a flight, like a tasting flight for when I go. So anyway, shout out to Jack. Totally cool guy. Cheers. And I'll show you. I think I shared a picture of him earlier with you. So might have to show Jack's picture. So they were
All right, cool. Yeah, I remember.
very good taste. All right, what do you have, Dan?
What I have is I bought a bunch of like new beers to try for the show, but then I accidentally brought one of the only ones I'd actually had before. So I'm drinking again the Omegang Fleur de Houblon,
Right.
which is it's a really nice summery beer. It comes in like 4-packs. I don't know if you noticed this, like the 4-pack beers. I like don't want to. If I like it, I don't drink it because I'm like, oh, I only have 4. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, oh, you gotta save it, and then so I have 3 of these left. The only one I ever drank, I drank on the show. So it's really nice. It's a little hot in here today. I don't know. I'm just kind of feeling it. So
it's almost like a branding idea. Like if you put less, like if you only sell them in 4s, it's like an elevated.
I think in 4s, people assume that it's a fancier beer. It's going to cost more or whatever. I think that is, it's like with wine, the cork versus the screw top.
Versus the box.
Yeah. Well, and the screw top and the box are both superior in every way to a cork, right?
Because the cork.
Yeah, there's way less lost wine, spoiled wine.
Yep.
Easier to take off. They're cheaper to make. So it's better for everything, including the taste of the wine itself. But there is the perception that screw top wine is cheap wine, right?
Can I tell you that wine actually corks kind of quite often? That's the term for when it goes bad in the bottle and it tastes bad. And I've actually done like a couple of wine tastings. Like I poured at wine tastings at like wine events and things. Yeah. And when you're doing that, you're opening like case after case after wine. There's a bottle that's bad in every so many. Like I was surprised how statistically common it seemed to be that the wine was bad.
Yeah, it is. It's like it's a whole thing. It's a huge source of loss, right?
And it's almost like a traditional idea. Anyway, we digress.
We digress. That's what it's
the 7-minute mark, the perfect 7-minute mark, which is what
I know. Sorry for all the technical issues, guys. If you're watching this, we really haven't had technical issues with the Hangouts. No. Really, we've been really lucky. So I guess this is the first one. So Google, I'm on you. I'm on to you. Watch it, buddy. Don't get cocky. All right. So let's talk about this week's subject. This week we are talking about web design.
Yes.
Which, ironically, even though I do web designs, this was something, Patty, that you brought up because you said this is a conversation you're having a lot with your clients. And the question that we are posing, right, on behalf of everybody. Oh, and by the way, if you are watching this live on Google+, you can post comments beneath on the events page, and we'll get it in our Q&A window here. So if you have a question, you can ask us. We'll answer your question on the air. But the question we are posing today to you guys and to us and all that is, when should you redesign your website, right? Getting a really good website design is not a cheap proposition, even if you go towards the lower end of the spectrum, right? So it's not something that's extremely low cost. So the question is, when is it worth it, right? For some websites, they just kind of, people redesign it because they feel like they have to, but maybe they didn't. And other people have been holding on to the same website for so many years, and it's killing the business and it's killing their souls deep down. Got a darkness that starts to creep in and just infiltrate every part of their body. If they just redesigned it, would have been great. So that is the question. When should you redesign your website? Patty, you recommended this article. I'm going to put it up on the screen real quick. Yeah. And it's a blog post from Business to Community about 10 signs your company needs a website redesign. And as always, you can get this article from the Google Events page in the description, or you can go to twofriendlynerds.com/hangout. That's TWO friendlynerds.com/hangout. to get a link to this week's article as well as get access to our past episodes. So 10 signs your company needs a website redesign. Patty, you want to kind of take this, sort of go through some of these, and then we can kind of head off from there, talk about, you know, when we suggest to our clients that they should spend the time and money and effort to redesign their site.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I have this conversation, like we were talking about earlier, all the time with my leads, my prospective clients, because you know, really, I'm having people reach out to me or have them be referred to me when something's not working, right? The lead stopped coming in, the website stopped, you know, generating business for you, and you know, so this conversation is all the time. So when I'm looking at it, the holistically an inbound strategy, it's okay. What does the website look like? How's it been performing? Has there been a drop-off? You know, kind of what's going on? Does it look bad? You know, so all of these issues are so inherent in my almost daily conversations that, you know, I just thought it would be great to, you know, to go down and see, you know, kind of what tips and tricks and, you know, what your barometer is for, okay, it's time, it's done. And I have a handful of things to add to this. Obviously, it's not just 10, but let's look at the article. So the first one is about responsive design, right? So this is, well, you can actually talk to this. I kind of associate it with mobile or, you know, tablets, and how does it perform across different screen sizes? Does it adjust? Does it make sense? Does it break? Does it, you know, look bad? But, you know, how do you think about responsive design?
Yeah, so responsive design is different a little bit from just mobile design, right? But really, a responsive design expands or contracts or alters its own layout depending on the size of the display that you view it on. So if you view it on a desktop, it looks a certain way. You view it on a tablet, it might get smaller, might resize some images to fit onto a tablet and be good on the tablet. Same thing with mobile. It might rearrange everything so that's vertically aligned rather than horizontal. And I always say you can think of it like this. A traditional website is static. And you say, like, okay, there's going to be a box. It's 10 pixels wide by 10 pixels high. That's a traditional static web design. A responsive design, rather than saying that things are certain sizes, essentially says that things are a certain percentage of a display. So, for example, this box might be 10% of the display width, right? So as the width gets bigger, the box gets bigger, and that's a pretty big simplification. But you know, having a responsive design is a huge issue because so much traffic. I think, you know, the statistic now that people throw around is over 50% of traffic, right, is on some sort of device rather than a desktop. And so, you know, it's a huge factor in how people use the site and how they think of it. And it also factors into SEO, right? There's a responsive sites get a little bit of a boost in search ranking. So there's a lot of ways that it ends up affecting how your website actually works. And then there's, you know, having a mobile site, which is a little different, meaning that when you land on the site with a mobile device, it actually shows you a different site, an entirely different sort of website design just for mobile, and that it's some of the benefit but not all. Do you agree? Is that kind of what?
Yep, I agree. And you know, before responsive design, you know, I'm thinking back to when I was project managing large, you know, web development teams. We would create, you know, benchmarks. Okay, we're going to benchmark this web design and web development to, you know, whatever the different browser versions there were, and we would kind of give it a size, and we would say, okay, we're building it to this. So even if it broke in other variations, we still knew what we were building it to, you know?
Right.
It's kind of, you don't need to do that anymore. So, you know, the benchmark is kind of out the door, and it adjusts. It behaves well. It doesn't break, right, depending on where you are. It's kind of funny. It brings up the idea of important things like calls to action and branding elements being above the fold. You know, there's not really so much that that conversation is, you know, any longer.
No, you know, and that's something that I'll just kind of stand on my soapbox a little bit. It's something that a lot of people say to me, right? I want it above the fold. I want it above the fold.
Yeah. Right?
Because this is that's been something that's sort of drilled into people.
But
I actually kind of disagree in a lot of situations. I mean, for one, the idea of a fold is very foreign to the way that people actually interact with sites.
Yeah.
People all know you can scroll on
Exactly. Yes.
and
Yes.
oftentimes with all these different display sizes, there really is no one place where it's cut off. And
Right.
so, although it can be useful to think about, like, what do you want to see people to see first,
Uh-huh.
it's really kind of it's misleading, and it's something that people worry about way too much. The other thing is that in actual testing,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times conversion rates, depending on what you're offering, are actually higher if you put the call to action after some copy, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're so used to like plastering this like opt in right away. It's the very first thing you see. But
Right.
for a lot of offers, you need time to warm people up before they're willing to pop their email in or something like that. So it's been out there as like this rule that
Yeah.
everyone's supposed to follow when really it's not the case. Can I say too that the other thing that really bothers me as a web design person that people say,
Yeah.
it drives me crazy.
Do it.
You're a client and you're watching me and you've said this in the past. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about everybody else. I hate it when people say it needs to pop.
Yeah.
I want it to pop. It
Yeah.
doesn't pop. Because first of all, it's a meaningless phrase. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. I don't know what it means. It doesn't give me something to do. But also, it's this idea that everything we want people to pay attention to has to be in some like glaringly different color or something and like fly off the screen, which is not good design. So I just want to throw that out there. Please don't tell me to make stuff pop. It makes me sad.
You know what? It's really funny that reminds me of something that the designers used to say back when I worked at another company. It was like, if you can't make it good, make it red. If you can't make it red, make it blink. You know, if you can't,
Right.
you know, it was like this whole. It was,
Yeah.
you know, that's the whole pop idea. But I mean. Yeah. There certainly are principles and best practices towards calls to action. But honestly, and I know that you agree with me on this, it's all about testing. What works for your site, what works for your brand, what works for your messaging. You know, you think something else is going to work, let's put it to a test and, you know, let the numbers, let the visitors decide what the best action is. So anyway, all right, so we are on number 1, and we are rocking it. Okay. This is my trying to keep us on track. All right. Okay. The second reason as to why you may want to redesign your website is if it's difficult to update. So that's a no-brainer. You know, there's a lot of really bad, even like custom-built, you know, by third-party content management systems that are not as easy as some of the mainstream ones, like a Squarespace or WordPress, you know, to update for you. So to update blog posts, update the homepage, update, you know, whatever that evergreen content is, you need to be able to get there, and someone internally needs to do it. You don't want to have to keep paying and outsourcing for someone to make changes, simple changes to your website. So if it's difficult to update, let's consider a redesign, right?
I totally agree. I mean, it's the reason that we do, you know, when we do web design projects, we do training for every client, right? So we always do training in how to update the site. Mm-hmm. It's not that much of a learning curve. It's a little bit of a learning curve if you're totally non-technical, but for most people, they can pick it up pretty quickly. And yeah, I totally agree. It's really important.
Yeah. They make it very easy to do nowadays. You know, they really do. A lot of these content management systems are just, you know, simple.
You know, I wanted to ask you about one of these in here. One of the things I point out is that if the site is slow, right? Yeah. Site is slow, but something I've seen my clients get confused about is what is slow, and how do you determine how slow a site really is? Like if my internet is slow, you know, how do I? So what's good or bad? Do you have like a way that you walk clients through that question of, you know, because site performance does affect SEO, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And stuff. So how do I know if that's a problem for me?
Well, yeah. Well, first of all, it absolutely is. Google, you know, specifically has called out a recent change within the algorithm, and they have said your slow loading sites, your sites with bad, resolving is is going to get dinged in SERP, right? I mean, it came right from the mouth of Google. So I use a website that is free, and I recommend everybody, and you can even do this right now. So you can go to GTmetrix, GTmetrix.com, and put your URL in, hit enter. What they're going to do is they give you a grade for 2 different sites. One of them is Why Slow. Yeah, so throw something in there, Dan. Let's check it out. So one of them is Why Slow, which is the one that I kind of prefer.
Yeah.
So they run it through 2 kind of speed tests. So Why Slow is the more kind of like standard, I think, for me. So yeah, so let's see how your site kind of loads. But yeah, it's going to give you an A, B, C, D grade, based on how it shows. Oh, look at your head.
That's my head, all right.
It's a little version of you. Oh, honey.
What? Well, see, this is interesting because I've recently done this on my site on a different service, and I actually got a very different grade. I think I got like a B- or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what is it telling you? So this I found was interesting. So go to the Why Slow tab. I'm just curious. Although they're the same, I usually see them as different. Usually, so what is it telling you to adjust? So this is meaningful. What I tell my clients, especially sometimes when it has to do with their service provider, I have them kind of capture this and send it to their service provider to make adjustments and optimize. But yeah, we probably should use somebody else.
Yeah, so I mean, for example, so some of these things, like using a content delivery network, I don't really have a need for that, although I could do that. Usually that costs some money. Minify the JavaScript and CSS, I could absolutely do that, which just means sort of taking out a lot of the spaces and stuff like that. Compress my components with gzip. Making fewer HTTP requests. Like, these are all like best practices. Do they really affect my day-to-day activity? Like, I don't necessarily see see that, but you never know. I could absolutely do that, and this gives me a list of like what things that are being done and stuff like that. So
I see that your page load time is what, 4.51 seconds. It says. I think we're shooting for like a 2-second. So that might be why it's a D. But what would be really interesting to test is for you to maybe make a couple of those suggested changes and see if it improves.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, see, here's the thing, right? These things get very technical very quickly.
Yeah.
So, compressing all my components and stuff like that, do I want to spend the time to do that?
All right. Okay.
I mean, I think, so you can see, like, which things are loading the fastest and the slowest, right?
It's useful, though, right?
Yeah, it's very useful. I mean, I've used other stuff for this kind of thing, and I agree that it's very useful. So we got images and stuff like that. So where things are loading, and so this might tell you, oftentimes what I'll notice is that for client sites, they have a few very large assets or pictures or whatever on the site. And by kind of getting rid of those or sort of fixing them up, you can really make a big difference.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it's pretty good. Although I don't know if I agree with my grade here, but we'll see. We'll see. I'll see if I can fix it up.
Ouch. Okay. So.
All right. Well, let's do this.
There's that. Okay. So.
Events.
Oh no.
All right.
Oh no, mine has like animated GIFs and stuff.
Okay, here we go. So I got a 69, right? Now we're gonna see. We're gonna compete. We're gonna see what it says.
Okay, so while you do that, I'm gonna keep going down the list because I want to rattle through these 10 ideas. The one that we
God damn it! You've got to be kidding me. It's because there's nothing on your site.
I know my site's terrible. We're gonna get to embarrassing later if your site's embarrassing, and that mine certainly is to me. So
It's interesting that your page speed grade. Oh yeah, your Y slow grade. I guess.
yeah, see, my load time is under 2 seconds. So there you go.
There you
And
go.
it's animated. So there you.
Weird.
I don't know what to say about that.
Put some content on your site. We'll see what you do.
I guess. I mean, it's in my 90-day plan, Dan. Okay, so we've talked about responsive design. We've talked about difficult to update, unnecessarily cluttered. You know, do you have a ton of content on your site? That's really bad. That might indicate that it's time to redesign and cut some stuff out. And by the way, a tip for that, and I've just been coaching some clients recently through this, is to use your Google Analytics. Look at the pages on your site that have been viewed over a large period of time, sort it by the pages that have been least viewed, and when you're going into a redesign, consider cutting out some of that content, and that's how to do it strategically. That's how to do it, right, Dan, by saying, okay, no one's visited this site, you know, a handful of people have landed on it in the last year, let's consider cutting it out, you know, if it's not worth it. So,
yeah, I mean, if you. Yeah, I mean, I guess you could. See, it seems a little. Yeah, if you have got a ton of stuff going on and it's just really confusing, you know, I think definitely pruning or combining things into sort of more valuable pages makes a lot of sense. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about blog posts. I'm talking about like navigation. Like if you've got a crazy deep navigation that no one's getting to, or it's, you know, getting in the way of your visitors doing the thing that you really want them to do, you know, the purpose of your site, I'd consider kind of taking some of those links out. And you know, but again, content is content. So I'm not talking about blog posts. I'm talking about, you know, navigation. So all right. So we talked about slow, high bounce rate. If you've got a really high bounce rate, the number I look for is anything above like a 65.
Yeah.
You know, if you've got like a 65 or higher % bounce rate, consider doing something to your site. Maybe it's not what your visitor's expecting on the other side of that click. Something's wrong. It's not that 3-second rule. It's not speaking to them. So
yeah, well, it also depends a little bit on the context and where the traffic is coming from, right? Because certain forms of traffic tend to bounce much higher. And you know, I always think about I wrote a book, like a short. I wrote a short book. That was called like Break Free of Your Rut, right? And it was just like a blog post I repurposed it so I could learn how to publish on Amazon because I'd never done it. And I was getting all this search traffic for like the rut and a huge bounce rate, like really high.
yeah.
And I was really upset about it. I was like, I don't know, the site's good, like, and then I realized that you know, in a rut, when rutting refers to when deers have sex with each other.
That's right. That's exactly right.
They were looking for like deer in a rut.
Right.
Or that's what they meant. And so they were all bouncing off, right? So that wasn't a problem with me.
Mm-hmm.
It was a problem with, I mean, I don't even know if you could even say it's a problem, right? But it was just sort of terms that might mean multiple things, right? Or I think about...
Or like a self-help book, you know, like maybe that's what people are looking for.
Or they weren't. That's what I wanted. Yeah. That's what I had.
Oh, it wasn't.
I wasn't posting pictures of deer having sex.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway. Send me the book. I want to read it.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. It's a tour de force, let me tell you.
Okay. Yeah. So wait, here I am. So the other thing about bounce rate, to give you permission to completely ignore bounce rate, is if you've got a one-page site, you're like one of those either parallax designs or something that just scrolls on forever, your bounce rate is pretty much always going to be near 100 unless there's some sort of call to action.
And again, we'll just if you're watching this, you're not totally sure what we mean when we say bounce rate, right? The bounce rate is the percentage of people that leave your site after only viewing one page, right? That's the correct definition. So it's like if I land on a page and I kind of bounce off because I don't really like it, I only viewed one page, and therefore I'm included in the bounce rate. But what Patty is saying, right, if you only have one page,
right. Everybody
leaves after only viewing that one page, no matter if they're there for 10 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever.
Yeah, it could be meaningless, but that's a good number to track over time. We've talked about that before on this show.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go real quick because it's 12:29 and we're like halfway through. Okay, so erosion in traffic, right? So you've seen a huge drop off of visits. Something's wrong. Let's consider a redesign or a rework. If it looks outdated.
Yeah,
right?
if your traffic is going down over a long period of time,
Mm-hmm.
and it hasn't spiked downwards, right? It's
Right.
sort of gradually, blah 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 blah. Yeah, design is one of the things you want to look at,
Right.
because people learn, right? So if they don't come back, they don't come back, and that means they don't link to you and stuff like that. So it definitely has an effect. I always say that when I work with clients, and the question is whether they should redesign, right?
Yeah.
Rather than saying like, oh, the design is old looking or whatever, anything like that. My big concern is always, my mom just came here. Mom, come say hi. Come say hi. My mom's in here.
No way.
Yeah, it's just Patty. Patty.
Hi,
Yeah.
Mom.
This is my mom, everybody. Hello.
Hi.
Yay. We're right.
Oh, you're adorable. Hi, Mom.
Now you're on the internet. You're broadcast on the internet.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to get off.
Okay, there you go. But what I was going to say was like the thing I always say is like, is the website meeting your goals, right? So if
Right.
sales, does it drive sales? And if it is driving sales, but it looks horrible, maybe don't touch it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you don't want to screw up something that works. So the question is always like, just does it work?
Right.
And figure out if it's working or not, right?
Right.
Then you got to do something, and redesign might be it. So obviously, if anybody has questions, you can always twofriendlynerds.com, right? You can come and just send me an email, just ask me.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
So let me rattle through these because now we're out. Okay, so we did looks outdated, not working, right? So it's not driving leads. It's not that passive, lead engine, lead gen, right? Search engine issues. If you saw a drop off, call me. So I just had a conversation yesterday where I'm looking at a historical set of data and I'm trying to kind of time that with some of the Google algorithm changes. So did you get hit by Panda or a hummingbird or something else that might be worth changing what you're doing and actually reaching out to Google directly and asking for forgiveness if you're doing something kind of shady. And you could be doing this not knowingly, right? And then also, the last one is a little bit silly. Links from old designers. I don't really care about that so much. But I have a few to add, though, Dan. So,
what do you want to add?
Well, one of them is if you've changed your brand. If you've completely changed your brand or product or direction or target market, it might be worth reconsidering a visual change in design.
Mm-hmm.
If it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
The site's embarrassing. You might want to kind of consider a redesign. Also, your competition. I would really look at who you believe that you're competing with, or who's in the same space, or space of that you are. And if your site stands out as kind of like the worst on the block, consider a redesign. You should really be at least up to par with who you're competing with.
Right. Or the flip side, where if all your competitors have horrible websites, maybe be the one to stand out and actually invest some money and make it good. Because
Absolutely.
Big difference maker, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, those are some of the ones I had. If it's in Flash, and you and I were talking about Flash before this started, but for me, the one sticking point that I have are restaurants that have Flash websites, because here I am trying to find a place to eat when I'm on the go with my iPhone or my iPad, and I want to see the menu. I want to know what's on the menu. I want to see if it's appropriate for my kids. I've got food allergies to contend with. And when I come across a restaurant with a Flash website, I just want to literally call them up and have a conversation right away and be like, listen,
Right.
you've got to change
So if you're not sure
Go ahead.
exactly why that is necessarily, Flash, which is a sort of programming language that allows you to do websites and other stuff, games and such, doesn't work on Apple mobile devices because Apple made a conscious decision not to allow it to work. So if you have a website that's designed in Flash, while it may look fine on the desktop, it also is not going to work for the majority of people who are on mobile devices. So that's a pretty big, right?
Yeah, and for whatever reason, it's very popular with restaurants. I don't understand. I think
People like flashy stuff. Moves and it plays music and it's got stuff and they like stuff. I don't know.
anyway, we are so over. We are over by like 4 minutes, my friend.
Okay. All right.
But
Well,
this was great. This was great. We have so much to say about this.
and I got my mom was in it and everything.
I love it. That's
Yeah.
my favorite.
So, as always, thank you so much for watching. And as always, if you tuned in late or you want to check out any of our past episodes, you can go to twofriendlynerds.com/hangout. That's twofriendlynerds.com/hangout, or go on YouTube and search for SEO and IPA. And please come and watch us next week. It's every Wednesday noon Eastern Standard Time. As always, I'm Daniel Barrett from twofriendlynerds.com, world's friendliest web company, and I am always joined by Patty DeLessio from reinventinteractive.cam. Patty, thank you so much as always. You're a wonderful person to be around, and
Thank you, dear.
appreciate it. And thank you guys for watching. We will see you next week. As always, please optimize responsibly, and we'll talk to you later. All right, bye. I'm gonna go have lunch with my mom now.
Cheers, Dan. Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, sorry, I put it away. I put it away. I'll cheers with my water bottle. There we go.
For crying out loud. Okay. Cheers.
Bye, guys. All right. Bye-bye.